Hey guys, welcome to all of you in this video. Today we are going to discuss about the truth about the Fort Knox. Is $840 billion in a gold really there in the Fort Knox? Fort Knox does hold about 147.34 million troy ounces of gold according to the US Mint. The Treasury official book value is only about 6.22 billion because US government gold is recorded at the statutory rate of $42.22 per ounce. Its market value is vastly higher and changes with the gold price. We will discuss about this and let's go and let's discuss about this. Okay. Is Fort Knox really holding $100 billion in gold, potentially around 840 billion at market prices, or is something missing? Today we are separating the fact from the rumors, and by the end of the video you will understand why the number 840 billion can be misleading, what Fort Knox actually contains, what Trump and Musk said, and what the official records tell us. Let's discuss about the Fort Knox isn't a giant bank. It's the United States billion depository in the Kentucky operated by the US Mint. Gold began arriving there in the 1937 and the facility became one of the world's most famous symbols of the national wealth. According to the US Mint, the Fort Knox currently holds approximately 147.34 million fine troy ounces of gold. That's roughly 4,580 metric tons. And what makes Fort Knox one of the largest concentrations of gold owned by the United States government? But here's where the things get interesting. There are actually two very different ways to talking about the value of the gold. There's the government official accounting value and there is the market value. Those two numbers are nowhere close to each other. How much gold is actually in Fort Knox? Let's start with the number we can verify. The US Mint reports approximately 147.3 million troy ounces of gold. That's the physical quantity. Now imagine multiplying that amount by the current market price of gold. If the gold is trading around 5,000 per ounce, for example, the calculation will be 147.3 million into $5,000. That's approximately $737 billion. If gold were priced around $5,700 per ounces, the same stockpile would be worth approximately $840 billion. So that's where a figure like 840 billion can come from. But here's the important distinction. 840 billion is not the official book value of the Fort Knox. It's a hypothetical market valuation based on the amount of the gold multiplied by a market price. The actual market value moves every time the price of gold moves. So if gold rises, the estimated value rises. If gold falls, the estimated value falls. That's why you should be careful when you see headlines saying Fort Knox holding $840 billion dollar. A more accurate statement is that Fort Knox holds about 147.3 million ounces of gold, whose market value can reach hundreds of billions of dollars depending on the gold prices. The strange, let's discover the strange $42.22 number. What's this strange? Now comes the really surprising part. The US government doesn't officially account for its gold at today's market price. Instead, Treasury gold is recorded at a statutory prices 42.22 per troy ounces. That's why the official book value looks unbelievably small compared with the market value. The Federal Reserve Bank of the St. Louis, using the Treasury data reports the book value of the Fort Knox deep storage gold at the approximately $6.22 billion. But remember, That does not mean, wait a second guys, that does not mean the gold is worth only 6.22 billion in the real world market. It's an accounting value based on the statutory prices. Take the physical quantity 147.3 million ounces, multiply it by $42.22, you get roughly $6.2 billion. Now compare that with a hypothetical market prices of the $5,000 per ounce. The same physical gold would be worth around $737 billion. That's an enormous difference. And this difference is one of the biggest reasons for Fort Knox stories can become the confusing online. One person talks about book value, another talks about the market value, and the third turns into a conspiracy theory. And let's discuss about then Donald Trump entered in the story. When the Donald Trump entered in the story, let's discuss about this. In February 2025, Fort Knox suddenly became a political story. President Donald Trump publicly said he wanted to go to the Fort Knox and see whether the gold was still there. Trump said, "We're actually going to Fort Knox to see if the gold is there, because maybe somebody stole the gold." He also referred to the enormous amount gold stored there. Trump's commitment immediately attached attention because the Fort Knox is normally associated with extreme security and restricted access. The president wasn't simply discussing the value of gold, he was questioning whether the physical gold was still there. And that was a very different questions, because if the total really were missing, we are not talking about a few $1 million, we are talking about a stockpile containing more than 147 million ounces at high gold price that represents hundreds of billions of dollars. But there is a critical point here. Trump did not provide evidence that the gold has been stolen. His comments raised the question. They did not provide the allegation. And what's about Elon Musk? Elon Musk makes the mystery even bigger. Then come Elon Musk, and Musk also questions in a situation publicly. And in February 2025, Musk said, "Who's confirming that the gold wasn't stolen from the Fort Knox?" He followed that by saying, "Maybe it's there, maybe it's not there." And he suggested that a live video walkthrough of Fort Knox would be interesting. The idea exploded across the social media. Suddenly, people were asking, why can't the public see the gold? Why is the Fort Knox is so secretive? Could some of the gold really be missing? And if the government says that the gold is there, where is the proof? These questions made the incredibly compelling headlines. But we need to separate transparency questions from evidence. Musk has questioned the situation. He wasn't presenting an audit showing that the gold was missing, and that's an important distinction for anyone trying to understand the story objectively. So, is the gold actually there? The question comes this. Here's where the official record becomes important. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the gold is audited annually and is accounted for. The US Mint continues to report approximately 147.3 million ounces stored at the Fort Knox. So based on the official information available, there is no verified evidence that the Fort Knox gold has been stolen or secretly removed. This doesn't mean people can't ask questions. In fact, questions about the government assets are completely legitimate, but there is a huge difference between let's verify the gold and the gold is gone. The first is a request for verification and the second is a claim, and the evidence currently supports the first much more strongly than the second. Why doesn't the public get to walk inside? This is the another reason Fort Knox generates conspiracy theory. The facility is extremely restricted. The US Mint says that no visitors are permitted to at the billion depository. The secretary makes sense from the security perspective. Imagine publicly displaying a facility containing thousands of tons of the precious metal. You wouldn't want to publish every security procedure, camera location, access point, and logistical detail. But but secrecy also creates a psychological problem. When people can't see something, they start asking questions, and Fort Knox has been surrounded by the mystery of the generations. It's almost the perfect environment for conspiracy theory. A massive vault, billion of dollars of gold, military level security, and almost no public asset, and a name that has become synonymous with wealth. And what would 840 billion actually mean? Okay, so let's discuss about this. Let's put the number into perspective. Suppose the gold were valued at the approximately 840 billion dollar. That's an extraordinary amount of money, but it wouldn't mean the US government has 840 billion dollar sitting in a checking amount. Gold isn't cash. You can't simply spend a gold bar to pay a federal employee. The value is based on what the market would theoretically pay for the gold. And there is another important point: Fort Knox doesn't contain all the US government gold. The United States store gold at the several locations, including the West Point and the Denver, as well as the other facilities. Fort Knox is the largest single US bullion depository, but it is not the entirely American gold reserve. The real mystery isn't just the gold. So what's the real story? It's not simply is there 840 billion in the Fort Knox. The better question is how much gold is there? What is it worth today, and how transparently is the information verified? The physical quantity is officially reported. The government accounting the government accounting value is publicly documented, and the market value can be calculated from the gold price. And the government officials have said that the gold is audited and accounted for. At the same time, Trump and Musk comments reignited public interest in the independent verification, and that's why this story becomes so powerful. It sits directly at the interesting intersections of money, government, secrecy, political, and public trust. So, is Fort Knox hiding 840 billion in gold? The most accurate answer is Fort Knox is officially reported to hold about 147.3 million trout ounces of gold. At modern market prices, the stockpile can be worth hundreds of billions of dollars, potentially approaching or exceeding 840 billion dollar depending on the gold price. But 840 billion is a dollar is a market value estimate, not the official government accounting value. And there is currently no verified evidence that the gold has been stolen. Donald Trump asked to see whether the gold was still there, and Elon Musk asked questions. Who was the confirming that it hadn't been stolen and called for a live walkthrough? Those statements reignited an old mystery, but until credible evidence shows otherwise, the biggest story isn't that the gold is missing. It's that the one of the America's most famous vaults continues to be surrounded by the secrecy, enormous wealth, and the questions about the public trust. And maybe that's why Fort Knox remains one of the most fascinating financial mysteries in America. And if you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe for more deep dives into money and the markets, government finance, and the stories behind the America's wealth. Because sometimes the biggest financial mysteries aren't hidden in the numbers; they are hidden behind the vault too. And guys, if you are new to here, please subscribe it and press the bell notification icon. And I'm new to this channel, and support me guys. And if you like this video, you can share it to some other people. Okay, thank you guys, bye bye.